Hello, beautiful people. Welcome to Ubuntu Productions. This is Aaron Blanco Tejedor, and in this channel we make web development tutorials with a focus on simplicity. And in this tutorial, our first tutorial, we are going to learn something very important. We are going to learn how to unload those big videos that sometimes we like to use in hero sections in the web pages we are building. We are going to learn how to unload this big video in a small screen in order to load a smaller version, or we can load also an image, for example. Something very important that most of the builders I have been working with, they don't have as an option. When you load a video in the desktop version, you load it all the way to the mobile version. For a project that we launched a few months ago, a long-term project, a community project, we decided to feature in the hero section a big footage of the ferry arriving to the island where I live. But for us, it was very important to find a way to unload this video in mobile devices, because in the island where I live, we don't have 5G, and sometimes with a big cruise coming from Sweden, crosses the sea, they can suck all the internet and get it for themselves, and the internet here is it can be quite unstable. So for a project like this, we needed to make completely sure that if we go for a video background, we could unload it in mobile devices. After a lot of research, I couldn't find the way to achieve this goal, so I decided to go to the Breeze community over in Facebook and this post and ask if somebody would know a solution for this. This post sparked some conversation and some debate until finally the amazing and lovely Maxim shared a link to a Stack Overflow, where a developer over there was sharing a piece of code that will allow this to happen. A beautiful, simple, and elegant piece of code. Eventually, I was able to develop this in our webpage, in the webpage we were building. Happily, I was happily able to develop this in the webpage we were building. And today we are going to touch on everything about it. But first, a disclaimer. Even though this tutorial is going to be based on bricks, the principles that you are going to learn here are so simple, so beautiful, so elegant, so straightforward that it can be implemented in any kind of build that you are doing. It can be pure HTML and CSS and JavaScript, or it can be on Oxygen or any other WordPress builder that gives you the possibility to write code, as for example Oxygen or Bricks Builder that we are going to be using today. And to demonstrate that what we are going to learn today, it can be implemented in any kind of project, we are going to share also a Codepen where you are going to find all the code and with the comments that you will need in order to implement it in your project. So there we go. And before we get our hands dirty, and I say that literally, because aside from web developer, I'm also gardener, and today I was in the beautiful garden and my hands are dirty. I thought that it was important to know what we are going to build. So first we are going to jump into the browser, and secondly we are going to visit, or we are going to have a look to Adobe XD, where I have done a simple representation of what we are going to build in order to understand much better what we need and how simple it is. But if you are not interested in any of this and you just want to go straight to the building or straight to the Codepen, you will jump the video forward, or you will go to the description and you will find the link to the Codepen. But there we go. This is our hero section. This is a drone footage that I took myself of the ferry arriving to the island where I live. And as you can see, it's quite big, and in a smaller screen like this one, we don't want to load the same big video. So we are going to inspect the code to see what we have over here. And if we look closely, let's put this over here. If we look closely and we go to this section, let me see. we see that we have a video that says welcome to Corpo H264 quality 23. This is a full HD video that is loading in big screen, in big devices. But if we go to smaller devices, in this case is under 991 pixels, so we are in that range, and we inspect this page and we do the same thing, we are going to see that this section over here is not loading a full HD but a 700p version of the video. How we do this magic? So let's jump into Adobe XD. Yes, I know it's not the industry standard, but it's what I use right now, okay? Sorry for that. And we will see how simple it's going to be to build what we need. So first of all, we have a red line over here, which is a section, and we have a yellow line over here that indicate that this is, in this case, in the case of Bricks Builder, a custom code that we will make into a video element. And in order to see like how simple, again, I will use in my tutorials the word simple all the time, because that's my goal, to simplify your lives and make great solutions for complex problems in a simple way. And I'm happy I found this solution. So the section, of course, we are going to need to have it in a position of relative in order to make the video element absolute to the position. And then we are going to add a custom CSS. In the case that you are hand coding, you don't need to add a custom CSS, you just need to add CSS, where we are going to do the isolation isolate. That property creates, I don't know how they call it, sorry for that, but it creates like a isolate area where if you put an element with a theta index of -1, for example, it doesn't go all the way under the body of the page, it goes to the last position inside an own section. So isolate that section and all the elements. You can play more freely with the theta index without bringing this element really back into the into the page. So the green line, as we said, is a video element, and again, like the CSS for this is going to be extremely simple, because we just need to position it absolute. We need to position it 50% from the top, 50% from the left, and then transform it -50% and -50% again. You will see how this works. If you don't know, just to keep it to leave the video in the center. And then, as we did isolate in the section, we are going to apply here a theta index of -1 in order to have it in the back of any other element that we want to position on top. It could be a heading, it could be an arrow, it could be a picture, it could be whatever you want. So, as you can see from this design, this is what we are going to build. It's super simple, and I'm sure that with my masterful instructions, you will be able to build this section in no time. And finally, we made our way to the builder, and let's build this section. Here we have the hero section of our web page, and you can see that the elements inside is very simple. So we have the section, as we already explained in Adobe XD, and we have a code element that is basically a video, and another code element that is another video. Then we have an icon that is the arrow going down, as you can see in the page, in the web page. It's loading in the right place, even though this is a little bit up. And then we have a heading that says welcome to Corpo. Very simple. In the original section, everything is like styled via a class, but in the new page where we are going to build this, we are going to style everything in the ID level. It's normally best practice to style things in the class level, even though I'm not really picky in that sense. If there is something very specific that I know that it goes specifically for one page and it's not going to be replicated anywhere else, and it's just a few like CSS properties that I need to Style, I normally can go and style things in the ID level. I'm not very picky in that sense, but in this case I did it as I style everything in classes, but in order to simplify this, we are going to do it in the ID level. Let's go for it. So first of all, we need a section over here. That didn't work. The section, we are going to remove the container, and we will see what stylings we have over here. So this is 100 VH to take the whole screen, and it's not max height, it's minimum height. It's important when you make a hero section that it needs to take the whole screen. Don't put the 100 view per height as a height. You need to do it as a minimum height, because in case the screen resizes and your elements need to take more space than 100 view per height, like if you put the 100 view per height in the height, it won't go over that, so the elements inside will overflow. If you use the minimum height property, it will say the minimum that it will take is 100 VH, but you can go over if you need it. So please, if you are going to use anytime 100 VH, and there is not a specific reason why you needed to do it in the height itself, do it in the minimum height for those reasons. So here we are going to remove the padding, even though we don't really need it, because we are going to position the video absolute, but just to make sure that things work properly. And let's see if we have any other property. We have the property of relative in the position, as we explained in the Adobe XD relative. And then the overflow we are going to put to hidden. The screen resizes and the video keeps a format of 16:9, but sometimes the video can be bigger or taller than the section. So we will tell to the section, if the video overflows you, cut it down, don't show it, hidden, over here, overflow of hidden. And then we are going to go to the CSS, and we see that we have the root of isolation, isolate over here. If you don't know what that root element means, the root in bricks in the custom CSS box, it takes the element you are styling and replace it for the root. So in this case, would be like BRXE slash Shita. The builder put this really complicated name in purpose. So Shita SKCI. So in the front end, this root is going to be dynamically changed for the ID or the class if you are styling in a class. And I think we are done with the styling of the section, and we are going to create that code element over here. That is going to be the one that is where we are going to create a video element. So we are going to tell to execute the code, and we are going to tell that to render the code without any wrapper. This is important because if you wrap it around a div, for example, that in some moments is useful to do that, but in this case we don't need that extra element. We just need that the video element goes on the section without any wrapper to it. So we are going to remove the content that we already have, and we are going to come to this Codepen in order to copy and paste the video element that we need. So once we have taken our video element and we put it in the code module inside bricks, we need to make sure that we take the class or the ID that we are using, and we copy the ID in this case and put it over here, and we use the same ID and we put it as a name of a class over here. Important, if things are not working, it is important to double check many times that the IDs or the classes we are using are consistent between the code that I am giving you and the elements that you are working with. So then we are going to take the CSS, and in this case we have added as a style or between style tags just to keep everything that we need to make this background video work inside the code element, so it's easier to debug if we need, so we don't need to be changing tabs and looking here and there what we have. And finally, we are going to take the script, that is the magic JavaScript that is going to allow us to unload that video. And we see that the get element by ID, it has the all ID that I'm using in the original one. So we, again, in this case, we need to replace this by our real ID and remove the hash, that symbol that I never know what's the name. Once we have that, I think we are ready to save and have a look in the front end to see what we have. And yes, we indeed have a background video loading full screen already inside our section. I don't know if we have looked at the CSS we have placed. Let's refresh this or refresh the builder to see if the video covers like the full section. I have no idea why the video is not covering the full section in our example. But anyhow, we see that in the front end is working. So in the custom CSS box, we see that we have put a position absolute to the video element, and then we put it, as we said already, 50% from the top, 50% from the left. And in order to bring it back to the center, we need to transform it to translate -50 and -50. And that's the way, and that's something that you can learn also today. That's the way when we are positioning something absolute to bring it back to the center, straight to the center. We move it from the up 50%, from the left 50%, for example, and then bring it back 50% and 50% in order to have it in the center. Then we have a zeta index of -1 and then a position of absolute, as we said. And now we are going to have a look in the front end again, just to make sure that things are working, that I haven't changed anything critical. And finally, we are going to inspect this code and see what's going on over here. And we see that, let me see if we see what we want to see. The video is loading the full HD version, and if we change to a mobile phone, nothing loads as we want. Yes. And this is the basics. Once you have this, you can do whatever you want with that. You can place an image instead of the video in smaller devices, or you can duplicate this code and change the necessary things in the style and in the JavaScript in order to make a smaller video work from that breakpoint and below. Finally, in order to make justice to the person that actually makes this possible, we are going to look at the Stack Overflow and we are going to give credit to this Mr. Paul Robb that has 33,000 reputation score. Congratulations, Paul, you have made all our lives a little bit more simple and a little bit better. Thank you so much for sharing this code. And if you want to come here, if you want to really understand what the code does, that is something I completely recommend, of course. Be careful, because there is a version with jQuery over here, and there is a version without jQuery over here. We have used the version without jQuery. We have used the version just with plain JavaScript. Actually, Bricks Builder, by default, it doesn't include jQuery. And it includes just you can use just vanilla JavaScript. And I want to end this video as I end all my posts in social media. Love to you, love to everybody. I hope you have a beautiful day. Only by loving each other and helping each other, we can make this a kinder and more beautiful world. Thank you for being there. Have a beautiful day.